This episode of What the Tech is brought to you by IT Pro TV, an easy, entertaining approach to online IT training. Visit itpro.tv/what-the-tech and use the code WTT30 for a free 7-day trial and 30% off the lifetime of your account. Harry's. Stop messing around and get started shaving with Harry's today by claiming your free trial offer. $13 value for free, just covered the shipping by going to harrys.com/whatthetech. And by Hover. Find a domain name for your idea. Go to hover.com/WTT and get 10% off your first purchase. Again, that's hover.com/WTT. Hover, domain names for your ideas.
What the tech?
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Zan. Of course, I'm joined by Mr. Paul Thurrott. You are, you have not moved. You moved back home. Is that what happened? After all of that,
moved. I'm home. I'm at the current home, the old home,
the old home,
the old folks' home.
Yeah,
I don't know.
The white padded walls. You're not in Pennsylvania.
No.
When is the official move date? Do you have one?
Oh boy, it's a little more complicated than a date. But I mean, basically, I'm home this week and next week. Then I'm gone for 2 weeks because of our home swap. And then the following week we're going to Pennsylvania, but just to move some stuff and to get my daughter into her orientation. And then that weekend, which is like the 19th, 20th, the movers are going to come and take all our stuff. And then on Monday, I don't have it in my calendar, but I think it's Tuesday, we're going to close on this house. And then we're going to drive to Pennsylvania. So I guess technically the day we move is the 22nd.
Wow. Things are moving quickly.
Yep.
Very quickly.
You're going to be really displaced.
Very displaced, yeah. We have not really spoken too much, and I have some news for you. I'm going to break after talking about IT Pro TV.
Mm-hmm.
Some huge breaking news that I want to.
Is it huge OJ related breaking news?
It is not huge OJ related breaking news. The OJ parole is happening right now, and I'm watching it on something that I'm going to discuss. Actually, I'm watching it on a device that we're going to talk about. I do want to say this show is brought to you by IT Pro TV. The U.S. alone has more than 500,000 open tech positions, with cybersecurity jobs at the top of the list. Are you and your IT team ready to fight off the latest cybersecurity threats? At IT Pro TV Online, IT training can help you fill in that gap, and you can be prepared for what lies ahead of you. IT Pro TV has over 2,000 hours of on-demand training with more than 125 hours added weekly. That's actually tremendous if you think about how much content is added every single week. They do everything from basic IT information to very, very, ethical hacking and courses like that, which is amazing. The other thing is they have stuff outside of IT, which I really like Photoshop and things like that, which is very beneficial to a lot of people. Check out IT Pro TV at itpro.tv/what-the-tech and find out how IT Pro TV can offer you and your team the best IT training. You're going to get a free 7-day trial when you sign up for an individual monthly membership using our offer code WTT30, and you'll also receive 30% off your subscription and the lifetime of your subscription, which is amazing. Go to itpro.tv/what-the-tech and use the code WTT30 and try it for free for 7 days and receive 30% off the lifetime of your account. I want to thank IT Pro TV for supporting the show. Let's take a moment, Paul, and talk about a major change in my life. No, I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about getting a job.
The gender change thing we were talking about.
Yeah, I'm changing sides. It is a major pivotal point in my life. For the first time in almost a decade, I am a PC user.
Oh,
officially.
That was not what I was expecting you to say.
No, I don't think a lot of people were. So I have my Mac in front of me because I had to do some stuff for work, and I'm still transitioning to a PC user.
So you are transitioning.
I am transitioning, and I have this unbelievable HP EliteBook, which I believe you have it too, and I'm watching the OJ hearing actually right now on it. So I have been, over the last week, I think we spoke about this a while ago, how, a lot of times when it comes to computers and our preference, it really comes down to not being used to whatever the other side offers, right? For me, it was a big jump from Firefox to Chrome. Humongous jump for me. I had a very difficult time doing that because I was so used to the way that things are. And doesn't necessarily mean that one is better than the other one, but...
it means that.
Well, in this case, it probably does, right? In this case, it quite possibly does, because everybody knows my terrible MacBook Pro Chronicle that I was listing here for everybody for over a month and a half. And it really opened my eyes at how a lot of the things that I really enjoyed about having a Mac has kind of gone away, and the PC market has kind of taken over. At the time that I got a Mac for the first time, the PC market wasn't creating these beautiful Ultrabooks. The hardware wasn't great. I was not a fan of Windows 8, and that probably kept me away for a while. Yeah. And over the last couple of years, things have really changed, and almost everybody's creating these beautiful devices and beautiful Ultrabooks, and from top to bottom. I mean, I have a Lenovo here. It's an IdeaPad, and it's ultra thin. It's okay. It's fine. It was like $400, but everybody's producing these beautiful devices. And I've been a huge fan of HP for a while now, with the Spectre lineup and everything. So I got my hands on an EliteBook right here that I'm doing a long-term review with. Paul, for about 2 weeks now, I've been using this. Right. 1 week every day. It's become my computer, and it's becoming even easier. The more I use it, the easier things get. And I wanted to talk to you about this because you've actually used this device. You also have a Spectre. And I think a lot of the audience will be shocked to know that I'm probably going to stay as a PC user when this long-term trial is over.
Wow.
So I don't know how you feel about that.
I feel pretty good about that, Andrew. So for people who don't understand what that is, the HP EliteBook X360 is what you have, right? The newest one, whatever the latest one with the privacy screen. Yep, with the privacy screen. Yep. So this is the kind of a business take on the Spectre X360 or any other kind of transforming, 2-in-1 type thing. So it spins back on itself, and you can use it like a tablet. But because it's a business laptop, it has some differences and some security stuff going on, and lots of other stuff like that. I haven't tested this one extensively yet, although I do have it. It's in the queue. But the one thing that's really notable about that machine, I would say, compared to the consumer products, just from using it from an individual standpoint, is the keyboard is really good.
Yes.
Like it's not that the other ones are bad, but like the keyboard's notably good.
Yeah. So that's kind of the reason why I got this, because I've been so vocal about how terrible the MacBook's keyboard was, the new one. Yeah. And they did get it. They modified a little bit with the 2017 model, which I have in front of me right now, and it is better, right? But it's still it's lacking something. They went to this. It's a different way that they're doing the keyboard, and that was something I really liked about the Mac, because the keyboard and the trackpad were great. I have to tell you. Let me open this up here. I could hold it up. So here it is, right? And this keyboard is unbelievable. It's I mean, really, I know. We're gonna have Mike Nash on in a couple of weeks, and I know that he really believes that this keyboard is probably the best in class, the best keyboard probably in the PC market for these laptops. And I've been using it extensively for a week. Full time for a week, 2 weeks in general. I have to tell you, it probably is a true statement where this is probably the best keyboard in the market right now. I really like the throw. Normally when you go to a new computer, do you have this problem where there's like a little bit of a curve? Like it takes you maybe a couple days to kind of get used to it? Oh, always. And that's actually one of the worst things about reviewing laptops is how often that happens. You're changing over. Yeah. With this, I had a very... it wasn't that much of a difference. It wasn't that much of a learning curve where I was hitting the wrong key. Instead of hitting S, I was hitting A, or I was hitting Q instead of, whatever. And that happens, because you're typing so fast. I did not have this with this device.
Interesting.
It transitioned very easily for me.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to point out to people too. It has
You
a pen
have it
loop.
too there, yeah. And I lost my pen.
Look, there's a pen loop. Because the HP's business machines have these features that you wouldn't put in a consumer device. So this supports smart cards, which is kind of a increasingly legacy but enterprise feature. And for those people who don't have a smart card but want to have a place for the pen, they have a little card that has a pen loop on it, and it goes into the card slot, and then you'll never lose your pen. Nice.
Well, that's not a true statement because I did lose my pen, but I did not lose the I did not lose the loop.
Well, I think that's user error.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm going to tell you something. I'm really enjoying this device. I really am, and it's a higher end device. It's not a entry level PC. It's I don't know the pricing offhand, but it's not a cheap device. But I was very surprised at how happy I was more than anything else because
I am also very surprised.
Well, using a platform for 10 years, I've been using a MacBook for about 10 years now, and to go over to a PC and say, okay, I'm going to jump right into this.
Right.
And that's pretty much what happened. I jumped right into it. I did turn off all my services though. I went to Task Manager and shut down everything. It
is a premium PC, by the way. It's $1,250 to $1,900, depending on
the model,
which version. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the higher model. This is the i7. Whatever the storage is, 512 or whatever it is.
Yep.
But I have to tell you, this speaks. It's interesting how HP has changed over the last couple of years because I went back and I was looking at the archives. And we were essentially saying how it was over because they were out of the PC market. They were leaving the PC market a couple of years ago. That's when we first started doing the show together.
That guy, that's right. Apotheker, or whatever his name was, the CEO at the time, is like, yeah, we're just going to quit.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine? I mean, now, they're building unbelievable. I'm seeing more and more of these Spectres out in the market, in the real world.
Right.
Not the little bubble that we're in. But it is interesting how I'm enjoying this, and I didn't think I would enjoy it as much. Obviously, there are some things that because it's not a consumer product, right? Like the speakers are okay.
No, but it's important to position this as a business version of the Spectre X360, which is a consumer product, right? And so HP makes what I consider to be probably the single best, if not tied for single best, convertible PC on the market, right? The Spectre X360. And this is the business version of it, all right? And so there are kind of pros and cons to that approach, but there are definitely some improvements over the X360, the Spectre X360 that are in this device. It's interesting.
So I got a couple questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the first premium PC that I have bought, right? Other than what I build, right? Other than desktops and stuff.
Yep.
But I haven't really purchased a premium laptop. I've bought, stuff for the studio, which I'm not going to spend hundreds of dollars. I'll probably spend maybe 3 or 4 or 5, but not, close to 1,000. There were a couple things that I really, really liked. One, it's that HP, and some may say it's bloatware. You could do this on your own. I'm sure you can find drivers, but finding drivers is very easy now because they put it, they have an application that you just run and just updates all the drivers, updates the BIOS. Do you like that, or do you find that annoying?
I find it necessary is the way I would describe it. And, you can configure that thing to just kind of do it, like you don't have to deal with it. And I think that's probably the right approach.
So right now I have 9 updates to do.
Yeah, I'm going to look at mine. So the HP support app, whatever it's called.
So let's see. I'm going to look. I got a sound
I would say
card
in
update,
the
keyboard, device access manager, more mouse. I gotta change my hand here.
So, I mean, in the PC space, PC makers handle this a little differently from PC maker to PC maker. Dell has a support or a driver update utility that runs in the tray. It literally has no UI. There's nothing to it. It will sometimes prompt you to say, "Hey, there are drivers available," but it never pushes a window up. It just does it.
Yeah.
That approach is kind of interesting. I think people like to see stuff.
I do too.
And oh, jeez.
What was
That's amazing. That was Siri.
What does she
And
want?
she was going to give me schedule information for the next Lakers game, is what she was saying, because I live in Los Angeles, apparently.
Obviously.
Anyway, the way HP does it, the way that Lenovo does it on the ThinkPads, I kind of prefer it. You get a nice UI. You get to go in and say, I want to do stuff. I think some people want to have that reassurance that they can configure things and do things. So
This is the first time that I've actually had a positive experience with this, because, and I'll tell you why. Because go back 10 years, go back a decade ago, a very different world that we were in, and as someone that's in the PC market, someone that covers technology, I use these devices, but I don't extensively. I have been using a Mac. I have not been using a PC every day, and even though I'm very much aware of what's happening, and with Windows, because I use a desktop and I have Windows on it, and I use it every day.
There are PCs out in the world. That's true.
Yeah. I this is the first time that this is my real device in 10 years, and I'm thinking, I remember those driver update applications. They've always existed, but they were so crappy. They never worked. They were never supported. They were never updated. And I don't know if this is because this is an enterprise device. This is not, a consumer device, that they're so adamant on these updates being done properly. But I'm guessing it's across the board now, where these updates are always done.
Yeah.
I've had this for about 2 weeks, and this is like the fourth time I've run this application.
Oh,
so
I mean, look, you don't have to run it, right? It will, in the old days, actually the old days, like 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
This thing, and actually Lenovo did the same thing. Like, this thing would sit there in the tray and run all the time. It was like a giant icon that you kind of had you could get rid of it, but they put it up front and center by default. I don't know on this particular machine, I don't remember, but I believe that the way this works now is the first time you run it, it will say, hey, did you want to put this in the tray? Do you want to leave it out? And you can say no, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You can configure it to just do this stuff in the background. You don't ever actually have to run it. It will, it will do it for you. Yeah, you just don't have to worry about it.
No, and that's fine. I mean, I like it. I like that you could do BIOS updates so easily.
Jeez. All right.
These are things that I look forward to in being a PC user again.
This is a little goofy, but I noticed this. I was using the Surface Book today, and I noticed this now using this device as well, which is that there's been a real push to go full bezel-less and make smaller and smaller devices. And so if you think about something like actually the Spectre X360, it's a 13-inch screen, but it's in roughly a 12-inch form factor. And so the device itself is smaller. And so those devices, not only does the screen go right up to the edge of the panel, but the keyboard often does as well. And so you don't have a lot of extra room in there. And theoretically, that's an awesome thing, because obviously you get a smaller and lighter device. As a result, you put it in a bag, you barely notice it, or you can just carry it around. It's super light, and it's all that kind of stuff. But I have to say, I kind of, as much as I understand why that's nice and why people like it, I find sometimes that those devices can feel a little too small to me. Maybe it's just because I'm a bigger guy or whatever it is. But the Surface Book, for example, has maybe a 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch space on either side of the keyboard, and it has bezels on the screen. And this device, because it's a business device and it needs certain attributes that you wouldn't worry about in the consumer market, like the ability to replace components easily, because enterprises might want to do that. It needs to pass more durability testing than, say, like a consumer device would. Actually has maybe, let's say, 1/2 inch bezels on the left and the right, and as a result, it's still super thin and light. It's under, I think it's, I don't know, 2.8 pounds, something like that.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a big, heavy, bulky thing. But what it is it's just, to me, it's kind of right sized. Like, I actually prefer
a little bit of a bezel.
Not that I prefer the bezel. It's that I prefer what happens to the rest of the body as a result.
Yeah. So for me,
you know what I mean?
I was just talking about this to somebody, where I don't want to compromise the keyboard, right, for the form factor, because what I would actually prefer is let's say it's a 13-inch screen. Right. Let's say it's a 13-inch screen and it's a smaller form factor, because the screen is going the entirety of the screen. There's no bezel.
Yes. Okay.
I would rather have a larger screen with the old form factor. Keep the size but make the screen bigger.
Yes, you just said what I was finally arriving at in my head, and if I had been thinking clearly, I would have come out with exactly right.
Well, my statement was not too articulate, so
But you fell right into it. That's exactly right. Instead of going
Smaller.
instead of taking a 13-inch device and putting it in a smaller body, here's an idea: keep the body and put a 14-inch screen in there. Right?
I'm all for that.
With this particular machine, I mean, I would say maybe for Gen 2, there's room for that. But I prefer this overall.
Yeah, because the screen is a little small on this.
Well, it's a 13-inch screen, right? I think the reason it may look a little small is you've been using a Mac, or if you use any of the other really modern consumer devices where they've gone full bezel-less. What makes the screen seem small is that there's a bezel around it, right? Yeah. And you're kind of not used to that all of a sudden.
I thought I
anyway,
tripped it.
Whatever. This is
Well, you know what's daunting? My MacBook, I have the 15-inch. Holy crap, this thing is huge.
Yeah.
This is not walking around with this thing. And this thing is light. Actually, let me show you how the privacy screen works. I don't know if you guys could see this. This is pretty cool. Let me see if it.
Hold on.
It might not make a difference, but because it's
hard to see.
Yeah. So.
And what's neat about that, by the way, is it's not like a thing you put on it.
Oh, so here we go. You can see it. Okay.
It's built into the screen.
So you see how I'm holding this like this? I'm gonna hit the privacy button. Mm-hmm. It's just you just see a glare. You don't see the actual screen.
Right.
Which is pretty cool. The thing that's so alarming is how heavy and big the 15 inches compared to this.
Yeah.
Very, very different types of devices.
I'm actually surprised Apple doesn't make a 14-inch something,
Why would they? They don't have to do anything that you want. It's only what they want.
Well, but to me, that's kind of the Goldilocks.
Yeah, the 13 inch is a little too small, and the 15.6 is a little too big, so you kind of want to be in the middle.
15.6 is way too big, is what it is. There's something weird about it. Like, it gets really big. They used to sell a 17-inch laptop.
And people bought it, and people were buying it. People were buying it. I remember those things. One of my friends had it, and he would walk around with it, and I asked him why he wants it. He said he wants a bigger screen. It's amazing how we've gone backwards with that stuff. I don't know. I just wanted to bring it up. I'm going to be using this more, and we're going to be talking about it on the show next couple of weeks regarding, how my transition to using a PC has been. And the only thing that I'm really struggling with is iMessage.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that I cannot get past. And I'm sure someone's going to send me a link on how to make it work. There's something you could do to get iMessage on this thing, but I don't want to jump through hoops. I don't want to jump through hoops. And that says something, right? How will it impact the Mac market and iOS if they open up iMessage? Because remember, that was a rumor a couple months ago, right before the new year.
Yeah. Obviously they did it with iTunes and Windows back in the day when those were the big platforms. They did it with Apple Music right now, putting it on Android. And so you could make this case. But the thing is, Apple doesn't have a web interface to iMessage, I don't think, unless I'm missing something.
No, they don't. No.
Which I guess they don't need it on the Mac because they obviously have the native Mac stuff. So I don't know. I don't know that I ever see that happening.
I mean, on Android, that was the interesting discussion. Well, they put it on Android, and apparently they had a beta that they were working on before the new year. And I don't think that's a smart move.
Andrew.
I don't think that's a smart move for them. For me, I'm locked into the platform because of iOS.
Apple would instantly become one of the most popular Android messaging solutions if they did that. I think it would happen overnight.
Yeah, but what do they gain? What do they get from it?
Yeah. Well, remember that increasingly, as you look to the future, what we're talking about from like revenues and so forth is services. And Apple has turned iMessage or whatever the message is, whatever it's called, into a platform, right? They're delivering bot-like capabilities through messaging just like everyone else is. I mean, it's also a driver for adoption of other platforms. You might have someone who aspires to own an iPhone. They can't afford it. They could get really inexpensive Android device. It allows them to take one step into that ecosystem. And between that and, say, Apple Music, they have a positive enough experience, it might be enough to push them to an iPhone for the next time around. So I really do think it makes sense.
You think it'll push someone to an iPhone? If let's say on Android you got iMessage?
Yeah. So imagine, like I said, so you get this person. I think there are a lot of these people. They just can't afford an iPhone, but they have people who are friends of theirs or family members who do have iPhones, and you know how iMessage is like it's like a TiVo. People talk it up. There's green and blue, and you want to be one of the, you don't want to be one, but you want to, that kind of stuff. Like if you could be in on that and feel included in that while you're waiting, because you can't afford the actual phone. I think that's
is that a
way
thing?
to help people make the transition.
Is the green or blue a thing?
It is. Oh, just talk to my kids. It's
Yeah,
absolutely
with the kids, I know it is. Yeah.
The other thing is Apple does cloud-based backup of all that stuff, right? And so this would be a way to do a cross-platform migration that would save your text messages.
Yeah,
right?
It's interesting. You look at Microsoft, and that's kind of been the argument, right? Why is Microsoft putting all their services on every platform? Don't they want to keep anything, right?
Well,
why?
Because they have to, Andrew.
But also they make a profit with these applications that they're putting on. A lot of the Office is available everywhere, and you got to pay for Office.
Yes, that's true.
iOS is not going to charge you. I mean, I understand iTunes being on there. I don't know. For me, I would say iOS on Android a year ago, I would have said I would love this. Now I would say I don't know if it's an investment worth for Apple, because why would you leave the platform other than, for the device? That's one of the few things that Apple has over everybody else, is that they actually have a messaging platform that's universally used amongst all users.
Flip my argument on its head.
Yeah.
Which is maybe the reason you don't do it is because this would also be a way for people to leave your platform. That you just said that one of the sticking points you have is iMessage. Well, what if you could get iMessage somewhere else? Guess what? That wouldn't be a sticking point anymore. You don't need to own a Mac. You don't need to own a whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's an interesting discussion to have. And now that I'm on the other side, as much as I'm on the Mac side, I'm noticing little things. Like I like the Photos app, obviously. These are things that actually I want to work with you over the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to build, these questions of, okay, well, what do you use to manage your photos? Like what's the app on Windows now to do that?
Well, it's funny you said that, Andrew, because there is an app. It's called Photos, but I don't use Photos to manage my photos.
I don't think anybody does.
I use Google Photos. I mean, the Photos. Microsoft used to have a great app, Windows Live Photo Gallery, right, which was fantastic for managing photos, but also for sharing them, turning them into slideshows that you post on YouTube and doing all that kind of stuff. I'm looking at it now because it makes me so sad. But the current app is such a sad. It has nothing to do with the old app. It has nothing to do with it, and so I think the primary thing here is it's a way to see your photos no matter where they are, and assuming no matter where they are is on a disk on your computer or in OneDrive. It's not extensible to other services. But it also gives you what I would say are fairly decent editing tools, and they've gotten better over time. They used to be really kind of toy-like, and now they're not as, they're still something weird about UWP apps where the buttons are all super big and everything. I don't know. It's just kind of childish looking to me, but it has the basics.
Yeah. It's interesting.
So it's not management is not the right word. There's no management occurring, right? It's just
I guess everybody does Google Photos. I mean, that's the answer to this question, right? It's just Google Photos.
Google keeps making Google Photos so much better in ways that are almost alarming.
Yeah.
Like they're awesome. And then you run into these things where you're like, man, I want, this is perfect, but it doesn't do this one thing. And then they announce that one thing. So, for example, the sharing.
Search.
Well, search is obviously search, but okay. By the way, this is a true story. I was in Pennsylvania I guess not last weekend, but the weekend before last. And the house that we're buying is my sister's mother's house, and my father used to live there, and so they had all their stuff there. It's like kind of a cluttered mess. My stepmother, as I'll call her, apparently saved everything that has ever come through the house. Like no one knew she was doing this, but there's all of my sisters have like boxes with all their stuff in it from like high school or when they were kids, whatever it was. And anyway, I was walking through the house and there was a box and it was open. And what was at the top of the box was a high school letter jacket with an S on it for Sandia Prep in Albuquerque, my sister Beth. And it had some pins on it, I think for volleyball. And it's maroon and they were the Sun Devils. I don't know why I remember that, but that's also the Arizona State University mascot. And I looked at that and I said, I have a picture of Beth wearing that jacket in 1987. And I'm going to show it to you right now. And I pulled up my phone and I went to Google Photos and I typed in Albuquerque because that's where the photo was taken. Scroll, 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 scroll. There it is. And I do some version of what I just described all the time.
Me too.
It always works. It always works. You can say, give me like a word association game. And you'd be like, have you ever been to Italy? And I'm like, yep. Here are the pictures. Like, it's amazing.
Well, I was searching yesterday. I was looking at a photo I took at the Mets game 2 years ago, and I just put in baseball, and there you go. Showed right up.
Wait a minute. You're telling me that when you search for baseball, Mets comes up?
Yeah, because they actually
See,
play
that
baseball.
That seems like a mistake.
It might be. It might be a mistake, but it pulled up the image 2 years,
Sure.
in. It pulled it up. Oh, I'm watching. I thought they announced the release of OJ Simpson. They have not announced anything yet for people interested.
Well, you really got to comment.
No, but listen, this is the So I actually was searching. I was reading about the latest updates to Google Photos, and you're right. You said that, and there was another one you were saying, the sharing feature, which is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, so I take all of our kind of family photos. Especially when we're on vacation or whatever, or some kind of a trip. And my wife will often ask me like, how can I see these pictures? And so I do make an effort to back photos up so I can put them on like the NAS, for example. I put them in OneDrive as well, although that's automatic. And I show her like, here's how you get on the NAS. And she's like, yeah, but this is photos from like 6 months ago or 10 years ago. Like, what about the photos we took last weekend? Right. Yeah. Well, now you can share your entire photo collection with anybody you want. And my wife and I have done that for each other. And so every photo we take on our phones, we can see in Google Photos. We can add to our own collection if we want to do that. And you can copy them back and forth and all that kind of stuff. It's one of those things like, it's not just common sense. It's like not just really good functionality. What it basically shows me is that Google actually gives a crap about getting this right. That they're serious about this, right? When I look at the Microsoft stuff for this kind of thing, I just don't get that feeling from them. We're going to do photo backup because everyone's doing it. Oh, look, Google's doing like a daily recap. I guess we'll do that too. Like here are some memories from photos that were taken on this date, and like
Apple does it too, and it's never as good either. Apple's not doing
never as good.
Yeah. So why is that? Why is
because
that
Google is serious about getting this right. Google is serious about stealing this from these other companies. Like they want people to use the service. And by the way, you were talking about like why would Apple put iMessage on Android? Well, why would Google put Google Photos on iPhone?
Everything. Yeah.
Their ultimate aim, I mean, obviously they want Android to be the most popular mobile platform in the world, and it is. But what they really want is eyeballs on their online services, because those eyeballs drive usage on all their other services and will ultimately drive revenues in the form of advertising. So this is what they want.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah,
to see how well they've done.
What's the advantage to Microsoft in some ways? You can make the same argument. You try to keep people in the ecosystem, that kind of stuff, but you're already dealing with like there's no thing they can switch to that's you, right? Like if someone's using an iPhone, they're not switching to some Microsoft mobile thing. There's no, they might switch to Android. So you don't get that. Like there's no element of that. And I think that's one of the big pushers. Microsoft's primary revenue stream may eventually be online stuff, but today Azure, the big, enterprise stuff is 3-4%. The, add in all the cloud services, it's 20-25%, something like that. But this consumer baloney is 0.0 something percent. It's nothing. So, they have Bing, but Bing, Bing is not a big deal. I don't think, nobody who isn't a Microsoft fan or doesn't even look at the defaults in their browser, uses Bing. I mean, no one would ever choose Bing. No one. I hate to say normal. I don't mean like that.
But you get the rewards, Paul. You get the
rewards. Yes, that's nice. You know what the real reward is the service that works. That's the gift that keeps on giving.
The one that I know people that use Bing. They just don't know they're using Bing.
Yeah, that's yes.
And those are the people that are using. I mean, listen, obviously, I'm sure a lot of people in our audience uses Bing, but a lot of people buy a PC and they load up the browser and it's Bing and they have no idea. If someone hits F1 anywhere on Windows 10, you go to Bing. Is that true? Is that a Windows joke that I'm not aware of?
What was the comment?
If you hit F1, you always use Bing.
No, that's
it was a joke.
Yeah, you could actually get to Bing from F1, but yeah.
Paul, we do have a lot to talk about, but I do want to continue, and I want to talk about our great sponsor, and that's Harry's. What do you love the most about shaving with Harry's? You know what I love most about shaving with Harry's? How easy it is. And how it lasts. It actually that's the most amazing quality of Harry's, because the actual blades are done very high quality. The handles are done very high quality. Actually, where is mine? It's right across over there. I have 3 boxes of Harry's razors that I'm giving away. I ordered, and Windows is booting up. I'm giving away to relatives over the next couple months. So I always stock up on the Harry's razors because it makes an unbelievable gift to anybody in your family. But what makes Harry's better than everybody else is the fact that you are paying way less than what you would do for a very similar blade in the drugstore. Harry's offers their blades at half the price, like I said, of the leading 5-blade razors selling directly to you over the internet, which works well. They also own their own German factory with over 100 years of blade making experience to ensure the highest quality. So you were getting high quality blades, and over 3 million guys have switched to Harry's. Claim your free trial offer from Harry's today. $13 value for free when you sign up. Just cover the shipping. When you go to harrys.com/whatthetech, that's harrys.com/whatthetech, you get your Harry's razor, just cover the shipping, $13 value, absolutely free when you claim your free trial offer. These guys are unbelievable. I absolutely love them. And they love you too, because they've been here with us for a long, long time. Paul, let's talk about what you've been using with your move. I saw the post on Thurrott.com about cutting the cord.
Yep.
And I want to know what you're actually cutting. And what you're not cutting.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you about this because I know you have a lot of experience with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Geez. I just said
because I have a friend that cut the cord, but he literally cut the cord. He has no cable coming into his house. He only uses, he has unlimited Verizon, and where he's located here in New York, he gets about 60 megabits down and about 45 up. And he has the unlimited plan, and he thinks he could get by with it.
So, I mean, I have a literal cable coming into the house because we have to have cable modem there, right? So it's RCN. It's internet only access. We didn't get phone or TV service, right?
Okay.
It's probably, let's see, I did see the first bill. I want to say it's $60 a month. It's $70 with the cable modem. I could buy one, right? You can actually buy a retail cable modem of a certain kind and not, lease theirs, which I might do. We'll see how it works out. And taxes and fees, it's really $80 a month for the service, right? It's unfortunately the best that I have where we are, right? It's what I have to do. I mean, I could get gigabit Fios fiber here for probably not much more than that, but okay. So it's 330 down. It's 20 up.
Okay. More than enough for you. I mean,
yeah, I wish I could. You know what? I'd pay more if I could get 40 up and just kind of have that wiggle room, know? Okay. All right. There you go. So I wrote about this, but just, it's still, I don't know why this fascinates me, but like I mentioned, my father, when he was still married to my stepmother, for lack of a better term, bought this house 25 years ago. And over the course of whatever amount of time he was there, he did various things to the house. He built an addition on the back, which wasn't necessary. He worked at Lutron, which is a lighting company, so he put on all these lighting controls, which are now really dated. There's some weirdness to the house about its electrical heat, which like seriously, but it's like radiant heat in the ceiling, which to me is really bizarre. But what this means is there are separate controls for the heat and the cooling, like the AC.
Okay.
And there is literally a thermostat in every single room in the house. You can individually, but only for the heat. So you could go into any single room in the house and change the temperature 1 degree in whatever direction, and you could have different little heat maps all over the house. Like it's a weird. So it's kind of cool in a way, but also a lot of micromanagement when you think about it.
Okay.
And then there were 2 control panels of completely different eras for the AC. And then there's this weird stuff like, there's like one room that has like 2 thermostats for the heat and one for it's really, I'm going to fix everything I just described. I'm going to try to fix. I can't replace the heating system. I mean, it's what they do there, but.
Is that a common thing? Electric heat?
I guess, I don't know.
I mean, I know what electric heat is, but is that like a common thing in that area maybe?
Yes. I don't know why. So
what do you have right now? Gas or oil?
Gas.
Okay.
So we don't have a gas, and our stove is electric there, which we're not happy about. We may actually eventually get like a propane tank just to have a like a gas stove.
Yeah.
I find the electric stove thing to be a little weird, but anyway, okay, sorry, that's a lot of stuff. But one of the other things my father did, because remember, this is back in the 1990s, right? He ran coaxial cable throughout the house, and so not quite every single room, like obviously not the bathrooms or whatever, but all of the bedrooms, all of the kind of living room type rooms, I think the kitchen too, has at least one coaxial, panel, like the coaxial circle with the panel.
Did
some
you
of them
not have
two.
that? Did you not have that at your house?
We have 1 or 2 left over from before. In fact, I made fun of what I was just describing. And then we came home from one of the trips, and I noticed in the corner of a room, there's like a cable thing. And I'm like, oh, man, like, how did I not see that? Because we just painted the whole house. I would have gotten rid of that. I don't know.
No, we have coax cable running my entire house. I mean, every single room has a coax going in mine.
This is what I'm describing. So the house that we've had fiber for over 10 years. I don't even know, for a long, long time. So there is coax in the walls in my house, but it's not connected to anything. Like it's all disconnected. It doesn't do anything.
How did you run cable then?
Well, because they don't use coaxial cable with FiOS. They, it's Ethernet.
No, for TV.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry, that's not true. You're right. There is one coax for the TV. Yeah. So although the DVR itself there's no, let me think about that. Is that true?
Yeah, no, it's coax.
I don't think there's coax going into it. You have to have, let me look at the box. Where's the box? Oh, it's up here. Let's go to the tape. Yeah, there's one coax. I think you have to have coax into it's not a cable modem. Let's call it a cable modem, the router.
Yeah, the Action Tech box.
Yeah. But the thing is, the thing that's, you do, right, you do for that one purpose. I'm sorry. Yeah, we do have that one line. But I think going into that box, I could be wrong.
So
maybe
the ONT for FiOS, the ONT is outside. The ONT, the coax lines go into the ONT, right? So the ONT has let's say
that's the end of it.
3 or 4 of them, and then there's splitters also. You can connect to the ONT. So
it's like the last mile thing is coax.
Yeah, so it goes right to the house. It's fiber, and then from that box that's on your house, it goes coax into every room.
Okay. Let's not get sidetracked. Sorry.
Andrew was right.
The point is, the new house is all coax.
Yeah,
it's all coax.
Yeah,
and it's weird. Like this coax that goes off, and like in the cellar, you can see it goes up and it goes, it goes out. Everywhere, it's everywhere. Yeah. And so the other thing one thing that's kind of notable, and I think this is actually really cool. The one thing I really hate around here, it's probably true where you live too, is all of the services are delivered on wires from a telephone pole to your house.
Yes.
And so you get those all the
Yeah.
wires that kind of come over, and
Yeah.
obviously during storms, trees go down.
This is
A
underground.
truck could hit the pole, whatever it is. So in the area of Pennsylvania we're at, all that stuff is under the ground.
It's buried. Yeah.
And that's actually kind of cool. Now, I don't know what it would take to upgrade service. Like if they actually had to do the lines over, I don't know how that works. I'm sure
They have
can
to dig
string
it out.
through.
No, they have to dig it out. My friend upgraded to Google Fiber,
Yeah.
and they put the line down. And one of the neighbors came and was irrigating, I guess, the lawn.
Oh, jeez.
Like he was doing
Okay.
some sort of irrigation, and he cut right into the line.
Okay. Oh, yeah. But I mean, there's got to be a system where they can string it through the ground.
Yeah,
You know
so
what
I don't know exactly how it works because everything is above here. You got the telephone
Yeah.
poles that you're writing
Yeah,
on. You never realize how old some of the stuff is until you move to like a newer development. Like my house was built in 1903, and yours was
Yeah.
built what
Oh, yeah,
1950s. But your town has existed forever.
Yeah.
And now you go
this is
into-
an old. Listen, the place I live, they pump out the sewers all the time because they're not working correctly. The correct solution is to dig up all the sewers and replace all those pipes. They're never going to do that because that's going to cost millions of dollars. But what they are going to do is still spend millions of dollars just patching it as they go. So it's just whatever. So this development is probably
the
built.
MTA way of doing things, huh? Amtrak's way of doing things.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry. So so there's a wire that comes in under the street. And so, in other words, for RCN to come in and add the service, as it turns out, they had RCN there at one point in the past, sorry. So he didn't really have to do much. Like you basically just find a port in the house that has a signal. It has to be within a certain range. He's got a tester for that. And there were a bunch of them, and he's like, "Where do you want it?" And I could just put it anywhere, and it just worked like instantaneously. It was great. And then I put on the Google Wi-Fi mesh networking thing, and I put the access points around the house, and that works fine. And so the first thing I want to anyway, so now we're kind of set up, and so we're going to use our cell phones. We're not going to have a home phone.
Yeah.
At some time in the past, unknown to us, our home phone stopped being like a phone line phone, and it became a VoIP, a VoIP phone. So what's the difference? Like, why pay extra for that? We have phone numbers. We don't have to change them. And the only question there is going to be signal strength. If they're going to work well enough, do we need to get a repeater? We'll see how that goes. But as far as like cord cutting, like there's no literal cord cutting here, right?
Well, you're not doing cable, right? You're not doing
miles
cable
of
TV.
cords in the house. But I'm going to remove every single one of those. Minus 2 or 3, but almost all of those coaxial things are all going to be removed.
You don't like it. It bothers you.
Oh, I hate it. Listen, I'll take some pictures of the switches in this house. Like there are panels. There's a room like my dad added on that's got like a fan in it. It's got sets of lights around the fan. There's sets of lights, blah, 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 whatever. And then there's a control panel with 5 things on it next to a control panel with 2 things on it. Some of them are dimmer switches. Some of them are knobs. Some of them, it's the most ridiculous combination of stupids. And you can't tell. What you basically do is hit something, see what it does. 9 times out of 10 doesn't do anything. And then you hit the next one. You're like, okay, that one's the fan, or whatever. It's like, it's ridiculous.
Are you doing any kind of home automation?
So that's a good question.
Because now that you're going into someplace, new, this is when to start. This is when to do it.
My brother-in-law worked at the same company that my father worked at, Lutron. He doesn't work there anymore, but he works for kind of a similar.
They're one of the biggest home automation manufacturers in the world. Yeah,
that's right. So
I had no idea you worked for Lutron. I changed all my light switches to that company.
Yeah, and so I talked to my brother-in-law about doing this because I was like, first, all this baloney, this is all going. My wife and I are through going out and visiting that house that we're now buying, but also my brother-in-law and sister's home, which we've stayed at many times now, for probably 10 years plus. They have all these stupid Lutron switches all over the place, right? And so the ones in the house we're buying are old-fashioned now because they're old. The ones that are at my sister's house are a little newer, but they're still whatever. But it's the type of thing where you have to kind of like double tap it to get the lights going all the way. And then there's like a sliding scale and there's all this stuff. And
there's one with a button. There's one with a knob. Yeah.
Yeah. So my wife and I both sort of feel like, look, when it comes to lights, 9 times out of 10, there might be exceptions, but we want them on or off, pretty much. And so like a switch would be fine. I don't care if it's a flat switch.
Yeah. You don't want a dimmer.
The old-fashioned switch is fine. So we've resolved that we're going to at least simplify this. But I was talking to him, my brother-in-law, and I said, look, I do want to talk about possibly doing a home automation thing here. And so I don't have to decide, today, but when we get out there at the end of August, we're going to have a month or so of time where, the whole house is being painted. I have to decide I'm going to remove most of those coax things. The boxes that the switches are in now, I'm probably not going to remove, but I need to decide this before we paint it, because if some of them are going to be removed, I want that all done correctly at the right time. So I guess what I'm saying is in about a month and a half, I need to figure this out. So I wouldn't mind, this is going to be a weird phrase, but I wouldn't mind some light home automation, if that makes sense. I don't mean lighting. I mean, I don't want, I'm not looking for like a computer dashboard where I walk around and make, set scenes and shades go down and stuff like that. I'm not going to do that kind of stuff. But
no, see, I like
basic
that.
lighting type stuff, like the ability to, like for right now, we don't do this, but we could, if we wanted to, away from home, turn the AC on or off, because we have a new AC. Like we could do that remotely using an app right now in our current house. So that's kind of interesting. The ability to say something like, we're away from home and we want the lights to come on at night and be able to program that, certain lights, you know what I mean, to make it look like someone's there. Yeah,
So here's a good question for you.
I see the need for that.
Is it too much micromanaging with home automation? Do you think is it necessary? And I had this discussion with somebody because I've dived into a little bit of home automation. I've changed some rooms, and it's not cheap. It's very expensive.
Yeah, no, that's right. It's expensive.
And when you have an older house and you have a bunch of outlets and you got to change everything over, you can't. It's crazy to do everything all at once. I think we counted one day on the show, and it was something obscene how many outlets I had and how many light switches I had in this house.
I'm going to take pictures of this place. You're not going to believe it. You're not going to believe how many panels are in every room. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And they're yellowed. They're kind of like they were probably beige, but now they just look yellow.
Yeah, the plastic. You have that plastic 80s problem.
Awful. Anyway, that's what I meant by light home automation. I don't want full blown, stupid, expensive, fully automated electronic baloney. I want to be able to walk in the room and hit a switch and have a light come on. So, yes, I do think you can go too far. We're not going to do that. The goal here, with all of this stuff we're doing, whether it's TV or connected speakers or the lighting, is to do it right, to get it right and not to have a mishmash of stupid, disconnected, incompatible, different things. So yes, very much the goal is to get this right. So this is not something we were going to fix before we got there. It's something we're going to fix right as we get there. It'll be one of the first things we do, actually. So I'm going to sit down with him and go through each room and figure that out. And so I guess we'll see, where that goes.
Paul, I had a couple more questions for you, but before we continue, I want to talk about our sponsor. That's Hover.com, domain names for you. If you like, you're like me, and you purchased a bunch of domains, these are the guys to do it from. I have about 300 domain names, almost 300, 280 something domain names. And it was all over the place. I had some with those other guys. I had some with Hover. A majority of them were with Hover. And I recently transferred a whole bunch. And I actually transferred domain names to Leo. I don't know if you know this, Paul. I had a domain name that I did as like a bid on the air. And I gave it to him, And it was so easy to transfer because he already had an account. But they have a great offer. If you go to hover.com/WTT /what the tech, I'm trying to figure it out because I don't have the copy and the billboard is wrong here in the show. It says Matman. You could use that too, but that is not what you're going to do. You're going to get 10% off your domain name purchase. They pride themselves on the lack of upsell. They do not try to upsell you. They don't try to hit you with private registration and this registration and that registration. It's easy breezy. You buy a domain and you're out of there. You're done. Go to Hover and get 10% off. We'll have the link in our show notes. And you can buy it from there. So, Paul, one more question for you before we wrap it up. Do you have a meeting at 3, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then I'm going to do a little bonus recording on my own talking about this laptop here. before I leave. So if you guys have any questions in the chat room, stay tuned, and then I'll answer your questions about my transition into using a PC every day. O.J. Simpson was granted parole, by the way.
He was.
He was granted parole. He's getting out October 1st. The juice is loose. How soon?
That should send a chill down anyone's back.
Can I just say this? At what month does OJ release the Juice is Loose podcast?
That is amazing.
Because I'm telling you right now, he's gonna do a podcast. OJ Simpson is gonna get a podcast with Podcast One. No, he's going to Podcast One. I'm telling you, I don't know anything about this. This is what I'm telling you. OJ's going to go to Podcast One. He's going to have a weekly podcast. It's going to get hundreds of thousands of views, and it's going to be all about OJ's life in prison.
Right.
It's going to be called The Juice is Loose. I'm telling you right now, this is happening. Telling you. I see the future already. My God, they can't nail this guy, huh? 8 years he got in prison, and they're letting him out.
By the way, he got 8 years in prison for
stealing back his memorabilia
back his own stuff.
That L.A., the state of California said that it was his.
I know, it's crazy.
So it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's crazy.
Now we could go back to looking for the real killers, says Swamp Rat. Absolutely. So before we wrap it up, Paul,
Too soon.
next week, what's your schedule? You're here? Or
I'm
no?
home.
You're home. Okay, so we're doing the show next week. Okay.
Yep.
I do want to take more time with you and talk more about the PC stuff.
Oh, by the way, we never even talked about the TV services stuff, so we should talk about that next week.
Okay, we'll talk about that
I'm
next
definitely
week.
going to need help with this.
So we'll talk about that because my buddy Josh Yosemite, he signed up for YouTube TV. And I've been using YouTube TV for a while because I go to work and I pull it up on my laptop. But there was a major problem with YouTube TV, and it's the fact that there is no supported box, set-top box that supports YouTube TV yet. Only a Chromecast supports it when you watch it on the TV.
Well, that's okay. I could make that work.
You can make it work, but it's not something that I love. I want it there. Number two, I absolutely hate Apple TV. I've determined that it's terrible.
Wow. Okay, that's okay.
There's nothing better than the Fire TV, in my opinion, right now. So I want to talk more about that as well. Yeah.
You have a serious Fire TV problem.
I do have a Fire TV problem. I hated the Fire TV, and now I'm back to loving the Fire TV. It's a wonderful, wonderful device.
Wow.
I do want to talk about that and a whole lot more, but I know Paul has to go to his meeting. I'm going to continue this. So, guys, stay tuned. We'll talk more about what I've been doing using a PC. I know Khan is in here. I know Swamp Rat's in here. Suncast is in the chat room. I know that they'll send me a couple questions to talk about this. So we'll continue with that. I want to thank all our sponsors today. Go to our website, gfknetwork.com. Subscribe to us. I know the schedule's been all over the place. It's all Paul's fault, not mine. And I promise you, it's only gonna get better. It's only gonna get easier. The schedule's going back to normal.
It might get worse before it gets better, but it will eventually get better.
It'll get better once you come back from your vacation. But
no, not then. Ooh. That's when it's going to be the worst. When I come back from my vacations, when I do all the moving stuff, it's going to be like a week or two after that.
Okay. So I spoke to Mary Jo. We're going to have Mary Jo Foley on. We're going to have Brad on. I got to talk to Brad. I have a couple line of Michael Mann is going to come on again. Stevie Richards is going to come on. Michael Mann and Stevie Richards, same person, different name. And then I think we're going to have Mike Nash on. So maybe we should have Mike on next week. What do you think?
Sure.
Okay. Let's have Mike on next week because I think it's an interesting discussion to see where the PC market's headed and how it's changed, for him as someone that's on the inside.
Yep.
And we're on the outside looking in. All right, guys, that's it for this week. We'll see you all later.